Well, what an absolute performance that was from Manchester United tonight in the Champions League against Istanbul Basaksehir. United absolutely flew out of the blocks, and 3 goals to the good at half-time. Could have been a lot more, if we're being honest with ourselves. And a perfect first half, actually, from United. And I think there's several reasons for that. I spoke to Ronaldo at half-time on the Stretford Paddock watch-along. The points I was making on that at half-time was Van der Beek being on the pitch. The forward passing from him was absolutely fantastic. And as the title says, Van der Beek tonight, quality. 2 key passes from him. 2 chances created. From so deep as well. Phenomenal. Very, very happy with that in terms of a performance. I thought Cavani, his hold-up play, his positioning, his movement, everything, despite not getting on the score sheet, very happy with his performance. Thought it was fantastic. Marcus Rashford on the right-hand side. Now, individually, not a great performance from Marcus. Good, solid, fine performance, but not a world-class performance by any stretch of the imagination. But what I really liked about Marcus Rashford's performance was his positioning. Holding width on that right-hand side, allowed space in the centre of the pitch for everybody else. And those were and probably Tellez as well on the left-hand side. Such an attacking threat, and nothing phased him defensively. So those were the reasons that I thought United had a hell of a go at it tonight, in all honesty. And get your comments in. I will be coming to all the comments in a little bit of time as well. But I'm going to talk over the starting 11 because it's not far off the starting 11 that I give as my prediction. The only change is Fred and Rashford, but let's have a look at those. So this was the 11 that we played. In my predicted 11, I went with Greenwood on the right, and I went with McTominay in central midfield, and I actually had it a little bit like this, with Fred sort of sitting, holding. That was sort of how I envisaged it working. It didn't play out like that. The average positions of the players, Bruno was quite advanced. Actually, Cavani ended up being a lot deeper. He was around here. Van der Beek was here. Fred's average position was here. And actually, Tony was in a little bit here. And Tellez was very far forward. He was up here somewhere. That was roughly the average position of the players on the pitch tonight. And for that reason, I want you to look at the forward 4 there. The most advanced 4 players on the pitch. Tellez, Martial, Bruno, Marcus. The positioning of Cavani tells you everything about what his role was in this game. It was a link player. He wasn't the guy that was necessarily getting on the end of stuff. I think he had 3 shots in total in the end. He wasn't necessarily... And give it a like as well if you dig in the new graphics. Rob's worked dead hard on these graphics, so's Will. And I'm really enjoying this sort of stuff, and we're going to make this even better. So give us a like if you're enjoying this sort of stuff. But I thought the positioning of this forward 4 in particular is what allowed the performance from United tonight. I think that this forward 4, and particularly the breadth of it, the width of it, the fact that Marcus held his position on the right-hand side, Bruno was a little bit shunted over to that right-hand side as well. And I think the fact that as a defensive unit, what has to happen is if you're defending against that as a forward line, you have to make allowances for everybody on the left, which, United have always had people coming around here where Anthony Martial is. This is a very congested area for Manchester United. Now, if you're defending against us, and we don't have Marcus Rashford here, and we've got someone else maybe over here, and Bruno's a little bit more over here, then you can have a back line which just sits just inside the post and on that side of the box. And it's not difficult to defend in the slightest. You've just reduced the space in between the back 4, in between the 2 fullbacks and the 2 centre-halves in a line by about 5 metres. Now that is huge, because that means that me as a centre-half, I'm getting over there and I'm covering him. Or I can look at a couple of players at a time because there's not much room in between us. Marcus, like I said, wasn't a great performance, but you have to think about him, and his penalty that he won shown you exactly why you need to be having the width and and show why you have to be aware of this sort of stuff. He was right on the shoulder on the halfway or just inside their half, and the defender had to come out with him. And him holding his width was massively key to how easy at times it looked for Manchester United. We got 16 shots off. Now, what's crazy is this looked so much more comfortable than West Brom. But against West Brom, we only managed 17 shots. What does that tell you? But I thought it was a fantastic performance either way. And from 3 minutes in, let's not forget we had Marcus Rashford dancing through the middle of the box 3 minutes in and was unlucky. It was a shit shot in the grand scheme of things, but the footwork inside the box was absolutely sensational. Really good footwork. And then we score after 6 minutes. And then by the 32nd minute, we've got 3 goals. We wanted to start well. We did start well. Simple as that. 4-1 in Europe. I don't give a shit who we're playing. 4-1 in Europe is a sensational performance. Absolutely delighted with that in terms of a performance. Absolutely delighted. I will come to the Patreon group for questions. So if you're in the Patreon group, in the Discord group, get that open and bang out some questions. I'm going to have a quick look at what some people are saying in the comments at the moment. Donny showed how immobile Pogba is today, says James. Wow. Do you think his performance has put pressure on Paul Pogba? Let us know in the comments if you do. Cavani had some great one-touch layoffs. Yeah, that's what I think he was all about in there today. Ross says the only sad thing today is that we didn't give Raphael an applause. I would agree. Pod says it tells you West Brom are boring bastards. Newton says, yeah, we only had 16 shots, but 8 of them were on target. Exactly that, yeah. It was quite clinical tonight from United. Rashford played the way Sancho will play. Just imagine it, says Savage Frenzy. Exciting. That Tellers can whip in a great ball. Tellers tonight, I wrote it down, 11 crosses, 4 managed to find their target. It's not a great success rate. It's not terrible. It's a lot of crosses, and it's certainly something totally different to the way Manchester United have been playing. So I'm pretty happy with that. Lindelof and Tuanzebe will have to be the starter, says Mortal. What was everyone's thoughts on Maguire tonight? And Lindelof coming off at half-time, do you think that's down to injuries? Do you think that's down to rest? What do you think the reason for that was? Why are we still not selling Pogba? Well, to sell him, you have to have somebody who wants to buy him, don't you? Will we miss Axel against PSG? I believe we do. Yes, I think that's correct. Watching Marshall and Rashford on the wings makes me hopeful we can keep both and bring Haaland in, says Antonio. Haaland, I saw at one point had scored 2. Did he finish up with 2? I think he's now scored this season, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 21 goals and 2 assists in 14 games. He's an absolute disgrace of a player, isn't he? You can see why Ollie really wants him in the squad. And if there's any chance of us getting him, I've got to have him. Like the video if you're digging it. Can I see Martial being dropped for Greenwood with Rashford moving back over to the left? Thought Cavani's link up with one touch was top notch. I can, yeah, to be fair. I can. Pogba is a good sub. Wow. Pogba's an amazing sub. Pogba's a good starter, but if we're doing it on form, I don't think he gets in over Van der Beek or Bruno at the moment, so where does he play? The disallowed goal from Rashford was mental. And see, this is why, for me, Van der Beek was mega important to what happened for United today. And the reason for that is I thought Van der Beek's forward passing was absolutely sensational. I've got a couple of stats here that I'm going to bring up from today's game because I think you guys will appreciate it. And I'm just going to move all these lads back. Get them all back in the correct positions. And there we go. Where's my stats gone? Bring these up for you. Let's see some comments. Pogba's still the best midfield we had, but we played great tonight. I think he's got to struggle to get back into the team. Simple as that. I don't think it's a given that he's in the team. Like the video, we're going to go for 500 likes. There's nearly 2,000 watching. If we can't do that, then we might as well toss it off, haven't we? Right, so United have now won 7 home games in European competition by an aggregate score of 24-2. United are top of Group H on 9 points. Oh, yeah, that was one of the notes that I had as well. 1 point should be enough because of the massively superior goal difference that we have got. literally 1 point will probably secure it for us. Fernandes had a quote tonight on giving up his hat-trick for Rashford. Of course, every player wants to score a hat-trick, but Rashford's one of the top scorers in the Champions League, so it's good for his confidence. So I'll give it to him. When a team scores, I score too. Lads, he's a captain, isn't he? He's just a captain. Forward passing is a great tactic. It's mega, innit? David says, all these United fans giving Bruno shit need to wind their necks in. Who's giving Bruno shit? Do they exist, or have you just invented that? So Bruno Fernandes, let's throw these out for you. Some stats tonight then. Bruno Fernandes directly involved in 16 goals with 11 goals and 5 assists in 14 games in European competition for both Sporting and United since the start of last season. He's scored 20 goals for United in his first 35 games, fewer than any midfielder in the club's history. Only Erling Haaland, remember him? Has scored more Champions League goals than Marcus Rashford this season with 5. Dan James is the first Welsh player to score for United in the Champions League since Ryan Giggs versus Benfica in 2011. Wowzers. Marcus Rashford tonight, 100% dribbles completed, 3 shots, 2 fouls suffered, 2 shots on target, 1 chance created, 1 penalty won, and 1 goal. Van der Beek, 100% of his dribbles completed, 88% pass accuracy, 73 total touches, and as I said before, 2 chances created. For me, that was United's man of the match. He made United tick. It seemed as if every chance that United got started on the back of Telles doing something, of Van der Beek doing something to play the thing forward. Telles game by numbers, 11 crosses attempted, 4 completed, 4 chances created, 2 clearances, 2 out of 2 tackles won. A really solid performance, and I wonder how much of this played into the fact that United started this game in the right kind of mood. We started this game by saying, we're going to get on the front foot. Now, we might have played 2 number 6s in terms of the positioning that we saw Fred and Van der Beek take up, but you cannot tell me, you cannot tell me that Van der Beek plays like a 6. He's such an attack-minded player, and he's just genuinely top. Fernandes has a Cantona-esque charisma, says Desporto. He's certainly got a vibe about him, hasn't he? He's certainly got a vibe about him. Bruno Ronaldo in 2021. That would be a bit tasty, innit? We're not on 500 likes yet, so stop what you're doing. Go like the video. Always watch your shows and Paddock. The best in the business. Thank you, brother. Just in your opinion, though, thought Telles first choice left back for the future, or can Shaw get in there? I don't see how Shaw gets in over Telles. There's nothing he does that's better than him. James Barber says Nicolas Cage. Outside in about 7 minutes, mate, and we'll be fighting if that's what you want to be rolling with. Why didn't Alex Telles take the penalty? Why Rashford? Here's the thing. Here's my thoughts on penalties. This is ubiquitous. This is no matter what club you're at, anything like that. People do not judge midfielders. All right, normal people do not judge midfielders on goal. Pogba's been harshly judged on goals from midfield, and I don't like it. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think that's what you judge midfielders on. But strikers are, and that's correct. You should judge your strikers on goals. So I think it's right that your strikers get given the penalties and all the rest of that sort of stuff. Pogba in this team, I wonder if you could play Van der Beek and Pogba and Bruno. Though, if United move to a possession-based side, I think you could do that. If we're going to be a counter-attacking side, I don't think that works. I hope Bruno doesn't fly kick a Palace fan. We can't last half about him, never mind a season. It's a good point. Lads, let me know, and lasses if you're in here, let me know, what's the lineup for weekend? How are United going to line up this weekend? What are we going to do? David says, Bruno is doing what Pogba was supposed to do. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. So, obviously, Southampton this week. Paris next week. West Ham weekend after. How many points are we getting? What's your lineup? Do you change tonight at all? Do you think Cavani's going to last a full game again? Let me know in the comments. We'll start reading some of them out, and I'm going to fire up the Discord and get some of the Patreons in. Do I think Van der Beek can play a double pivot in a league match? Absolutely. I absolutely do, yeah. Especially against the Southampton. Yeah, I do, actually. And we'll be doing another preview. If you've been digging what we've been doing on the previews as well, cheers, we are trying to make them as good as we possibly can. And do you know what? I think we're doing all right, aren't we? If you've watched the previews, did you find it useful? Let me know in the comments, and I will get to the questions. And there's no questions in here. Mitz, what are you doing? No questions in there. Never mind. Fred was fantastic. Fred's always going to do that. Thoughts on the Golden Boy list? I got no issues with Haaland winning it, but some of the people that was on it ahead of Greenwood, you just go, I don't think so, mate. Greenwood for Cavani is the only weekend change. Ooh, I'd be surprised if he did that. Unless a defender's injured, play Axel, says Ross. Could go with that, to be fair. 600 likes. We got 600 likes. Can we get 1,000 before I wrap it up? Axel instead of Lindelof to protect him. It's probably a good shout because in the press conference on Friday, Solskjaer did seem to go over that quite a little bit. So, maybe that's something to definitely look at. I would imagine that's probably a good shout to look at for starters. Have we already talked about Greenwood's greediness? I haven't, but he did seem to have, I think he had 2 shots in about 90 seconds when he first came on, and I think he ended up with 3 or 4. You can call it greedy, but at the end of the day, he got an assist for Dan James. It was a fantastic assist at the end of the game. You can't blame a teenager for coming on and wanting to score, although I definitely did see Cavani frustrated with him. It's going to happen, but that single-mindedness is just one of those, I think. Is Pogba going to be back for the weekend? I don't even know what's up with him, so I couldn't tell you. Thoughts on Williams being played right back? He played the vast majority of his career as a right back. He only really played left back like maybe a season before he came into the first team, maybe a season and a half. Rashford and Marshall are still slowing us down. I don't know about that. How's Rashford slowing us down? I mean, I didn't see any of them slowing us down tonight, to be honest with you. Would I give him a rest against Southampton? I'd give him a rest tonight, to be honest with you. I don't know about Southampton. Depends how it goes. Just joined. Have we talked about Cavani's first 90 minutes? Yeah, I mean, we touched on it when we were talking about the team. We go back to the iPad. Let's get Cavani. Cavani sort of operated in this area, weirdly. But he did it really well. And Marshall was tucked over here. We had Bruno here. And I think Marcus was maybe just judged in a little bit like that. Tellers was up here. This was more or less the average position of the team tonight. And I thought Cavani was doing a lot of work in here. His average position, the way they take the data for your average position, it's not necessarily where you spent the most time standing or running on a pitch. It's where the average of your actions are. So, what you would find, let's say, just as a pure example, let's say Tellers. Let's say Tellers started the game at left back. So, all of his actions are here. And then he moved, and at halftime, we changed him to play at right back. And then all his actions are here. When you get his average touches, it's going to be here. Because it uses an average of where your touches were, not an average of where your positioning was. Point back where he was. So even though Cavani was doing a lot of this, come short, lay it off for one of these two, put it in one of the channels for one of these two, and then make a sprint into the box. Because he wasn't often getting on the end of these, because he wasn't often putting the ball into the back of the net, because he wasn't the one that was then either dribbling or making passes inside the box, his average touch was there. It was further back. It was really deep. I mean, he wasn't there. He was stretching the defence, and I thought he led the line fantastically as a number 9. But that's where his average touch was. What I think this highlights, though, and I think what you have to be mindful of is, as I said at the top of the show, Marcus Rashford's position on the right-hand side. I don't think he had a fantastic game individually, but he held his position really well, and that stretched the defence out and allowed us to have 4 or 5 players bombing forward at any one time. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was absolutely wicked. Got a super chat from Adil. He says, "How good is Shortire?" Now, Shola's one of the youngest players, I think, if not the youngest player to play for United in the UEFA Youth League. He's very good. He's a very exciting player. If I had to compare his style, not his abilities, but his style, he reminds me of an R9, kind of like real combative, aggressive, loves going forward, that sort of kind of player. Nikolai says, you think we'll see the same starting 11 at Southampton? I would be very surprised if we did, but I wouldn't necessarily be devoed if we did. Do we see Cavani, Marshall and Marcus as our forward three? I think Ollie might. Ollie seems to do a couple of things, doesn't he? When he finds something that kind of works, he's like, got it, we're sticking with that. He doesn't necessarily see something that works and then move on to something different very quickly. He does seem to like to use the same thing time and time again. So I would be very surprised if we didn't see the same starting 11. But like I said, not bothered. 4-1, almost in the next round, and I am delighted with that. Righty, there's extra content and stuff coming out for the Legends in the Patreon group if you'd like to come and see what that is all about. And hit the button below, come and check it out, and come and help support the channel. But cheers for tuning in. Hope you've all had a good Tuesday night. Wasn't a waste of time this time. United are now 3 wins for last 3 games. We've got a hell of a month coming up in December. It's a shame we're not going to be there to support the lads, but hopefully you can check out all the pre and post match coverage right here on this channel. So hit subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.